Peter Rabbit. The summer was long, green, and, to Peter Rabbit's great annoyance, terribly boring. Peter, now a rabbit of considerable experience, found himself standing at the edge of the low stone wall separating the wild woods from the perfect, manicured nightmare that was Farmer McGregor's garden. "A carrot is just a carrot," he muttered to his cousin, Benjamin Bunny, who was carefully adjusting his cap. "It is not, Peter. That is a McGregor carrot." "It is a carrot of superior size, crunch, and nutritional value," Benjamin replied, his voice muffled by the collar of his coat. Peter sighed, twitching his nose dramatically. He was tired of carrots. He was tired of running. He was tired of the same old, frantic chases under the watering can and the same near misses under the wheelbarrow. He knew every loose flagstone and every sagging fence post. He felt like he had mastered the art of mischief, and mastery, he realized, was deeply dull. "We need a new challenge, Benjamin. Something impossible." "Impossible is usually where McGregor keeps his shovel, Peter." "I prefer achievable risk," Benjamin mumbled, already scouting the path to the lettuce patch. Their attention was suddenly snapped to a new structure built right in the center of the garden, a small, gleaming glass box, unlike anything McGregor had owned before. It was an elaborate, high-tech greenhouse cabinet, humming faintly. It was much too tall for any rabbit to jump and too secure for any fox to break. "Look at that, Benjamin," Peter whispered, his boredom instantly evaporating. "That is a challenge." While they watched, Farmer McGregor himself, red-faced and grumpy as always, unlocked the cabinet. Inside, on a pedestal of soil, was one single, small pot. Within the pot sat one single, strange object, a seed. But this was no ordinary seed. It was about the size of a dried pea, but it pulsated with a soft, steady emerald light. McGregor carefully poured a tiny vial of water over it. As the water touched the soil, the seed didn't sprout, it sang. A tiny, high-pitched chime echoed from the cabinet, and the light grew blindingly bright for just a second before settling back to a mesmerizing emerald glow. "The legend is true," breathed a voice from the high branches of the oak tree. It was Pipkin the magpie, known for his shiny things and even shinier gossip. "That is a glow seed." "A magical seed," Peter said, "to grow exactly what you need, instantly." McGregor slammed the glass door shut and stomped toward the house, perhaps to fetch his afternoon tea. Peter's heart pounded, not with fear of McGregor, but with the pure thrill of the unknown. Stealing lettuce was a routine. Stealing magic was an adventure. "Benjamin," Peter said, pulling down his own bright blue jacket, a gift from his mother and a magnet for trouble. "Forget the carrots. We're going for the impossible." The plan was Peter's finest work of chaotic genius. It required three components: distraction, precision, and speed. The distraction: Benjamin, under Peter's instruction, created a diversion in the far corner by gnawing through the rope that held up McGregor's drying laundry. When the entire sheet line collapsed into a heap of flapping cloth, McGregor, who hated anything messy, roared and rushed to untangle the disaster. The precision: Peter used a series of old, rusty tools, a bent trowel, a discarded bootlace, and a tiny, sharpened stone, to meticulously pick the lock on the back panel of the greenhouse cabinet. The lock was old-fashioned, a small mercy from McGregor's cheapness. Click. Peter slipped inside. The air was warm, sweet, and metallic. The small, glowing emerald seed sat on its pedestal. It seemed to hum with promise. Peter delicately picked it up with the very tips of his paw-claws. It was warm and felt alive. Success. The impossible was achieved. The disaster. Peter, however, made a mistake. He became arrogant. He didn't just exit. He lingered, savoring the moment of victory. He failed to notice the movement in the dark flower beds nearby. As Peter reached the edge of the cabinet, ready to make his clean getaway, a dark, fast shape launched itself from the shadow of a large pumpkin. It wasn't McGregor. It was Barnaby the badger. Barnaby was the grumpiest, most territorial creature in the forest, hated by rabbits for his sheer bad temper and his unfortunate habit of digging through their tunnels just to make a point. Barnaby wasn't interested in Peter, he was interested in the smell. That magical, humming, emerald scent of the glow seed was unique, and Barnaby's nose had found it. "What have you got there, you twitchy-nosed bandit?" Barnaby growled, snapping his powerful jaws. Peter, caught completely by surprise, tried to bolt. Barnaby swung his thick paw, not hitting Peter, but striking the small, precious seed right out of Peter's paw. The seed flew high into the air, shining like a tiny green star. It landed softly in the deep, leafy soil of a neglected rhododendron bush. Barnaby, furious that he had missed, tore into the bushes, thrashing his way through the leaves. Peter, panicked, bolted over the wall and fled, his heart hammering against his ribs. He was safe, but the seed, the powerful, magical, stolen seed, was now lost, dropped somewhere in the middle of McGregor's territory, with a highly disgruntled badger tearing the garden apart to find it. Peter tumbled into the burrow, breathless, his blue jacket covered in mud and rhododendron leaves. He found his three sisters, Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, having a quiet afternoon of weaving baskets and debating the merits of different berry jams. Peter's sudden, muddy arrival brought instant silence. "Peter, what in the name of Mother's sewing box happened to you?" Cottontail asked, ever the most sensible. I may have caused a problem," Peter stammered, his usual swagger completely gone. He told them the entire story. The boredom, the glow seed, the lockpicking, and the disastrous drop, leaving the seed somewhere near the dangerous center of the garden. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail looked at each other. They were always frustrated by Peter's recklessness, but this was different. This wasn't just about stolen radishes. This was magic, and it was dangerous. "A seed that grows what you need?" Mopsy murmured, already picturing a mountain of cozy winter blankets. "If Barnaby the badger finds it," Flopsy said grimly, "he won't wish for blankets. He'll wish for a spike-lined door to his burrow and an instant, permanent fence around his territory that no rabbit can cross. He'll wish for endless turnips and a permanent dislike of rabbits." The consequences were too great. Peter's small act of arrogance could ruin the entire community's access to the garden forever. "We have to get it back," Cottontail declared, dropping her basket. "Before sunset. Before McGregor finds Barnaby's mess. And certainly before Barnaby finds the seed." They decided they needed help. They raced to the cottage of Great Uncle Henry, Benjamin's elderly relative, a rabbit who had spent his entire life studying the ancient paths and secretive magic of the woods. Uncle Henry, sitting in an armchair made of woven ferns, listened to Peter's trembling confession. When Peter finished, Uncle Henry merely nodded, his whiskers twitching slowly. "Barnaby," Uncle Henry said in a creaky voice. "The most predictable animal in the woods. He is digging now, but he will soon realize he can't find a thing he can't smell. If the seed is truly magical, it may be hiding its scent." "What should we do, Uncle Henry?" Peter pleaded. "You, Peter, will not use speed. You will use cleverness. The seed is in the rhododendron patch. That patch leads directly to the old oak maze, Barnaby's territory. You need a distraction that Barnaby cannot resist. You need to lure him out, and then you need to go in." The 5 rabbits, Peter, Benjamin, Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, split into 2 teams. Team Retrieval, Peter and Cottontail, their mission was to find the rhododendron bush, locate the scent-hiding seed, and return it. Team Diversion, Benjamin, Flopsy, and Mopsy, their mission was to lure Barnaby away from the path to the old oak maze. The diversion team had a brilliant, if slightly risky idea. They gathered the biggest, juiciest, most despised radishes they could find from the nearby tool shed, wrapped them in a piece of McGregor's old fishing net, and dragged the strongly scented bundle straight toward the front porch of McGregor's house. The smell of the discarded radishes hit Barnaby, who was tearing through the garden like a tiny, furry tornado. Barnaby's brain, driven by pure hunger and fury, instantly forgot the magical scent of the seed. He saw the easy-to-grab bundle of radishes. He charged after the diversion team. As Barnaby was led on a furious, radish-chasing detour through the flower beds, Peter and Cottontail crept back to the rhododendron patch. They searched under every leaf and pushed past every thick, dark branch. The seed was impossible to find. "It's not here, Peter. The ground is too thick," Cottontail whispered urgently. Peter stopped, remembering Uncle Henry's words, "Use cleverness, not speed." He closed his eyes and tried to listen to the soil, just as he had learned to listen for McGregor's clumsy boots. He listened for the chime, the song that the seed had made when McGregor watered it. He pressed his ear to the damp earth. Drip, drip. He heard the sound of water running from a small, leaky pipe near the wall. And then, faint, high, and clear, he heard the chime. The leak was dripping directly onto the soil right next to a cracked stone. The constant water was causing the seed to sing very faintly. Peter gently dug beneath the cracked stone. There it was, the glow seed, still pulsing a soft emerald green. "Got it," Peter breathed. But as they turned to leave, a shadow fell over them. Barnaby had shaken off the radish chase and was standing right there, blocking the path, his nose twitching madly. He had smelled the fresh, clean magic of the seed in the air. "Give me that, you little nuisance," Barnaby roared, lunging forward. Peter, trapped, held the seed tight. He saw the only escape, a dark, narrow opening beneath the largest root of the old oak tree, the entrance to the old oak maze, Barnaby's secret den. "Follow me, Cottontail." They dove into the darkness. The maze was a labyrinth of twisted roots, damp earth, and tiny, winding tunnels Barnaby had dug for himself. It smelled of earth and old secrets. Peter was fast, but Barnaby was stronger and knew the paths. Peter knew he couldn't outrun him, not in Barnaby's own home. He had to be smarter. As Barnaby came crashing through a narrow junction, Peter did the only thing that made sense. He grabbed a handful of loose, damp soil and threw it, not at Barnaby's face, but at the low-hanging root just behind him. The soil hit the root, which was surprisingly loose. Thump! The root came down, sealing the path just long enough. Peter and Cottontail scrambled out into the light, bursting free from the old oak maze and back into the woods, leaving a very angry, dirt-covered Barnaby stuck behind a temporary, muddy wall. The 5 rabbits regrouped safely outside the stone wall, exhausted but victorious. Peter handed the pulsing emerald seed to Uncle Henry. Uncle Henry looked at Peter, not with disapproval, but with pride. "You chose cleverness over panic, Peter. You retrieved the seed, and you defended yourself without causing injury. You faced the consequences of your mischief." "What will happen now?" asked Flopsy. "Now," Uncle Henry said, smiling, "we plant it in the wild woods. This seed wasn't meant for McGregor's greed. It was meant for the forest's need." They gathered at a barren patch of ground that had been damaged by a recent storm. Uncle Henry carefully dug a small hole and placed the glow seed inside. Then, Peter, the one who caused the problem, was given the honor of watering it with a splash of clear stream water. The moment the water touched the seed, the earth began to tremble. The emerald light burst forth, far brighter than it had been in the cabinet. It wasn't just a chimer, it was a loud, joyful song. In seconds, the barren patch wasn't barren anymore. It didn't grow a fortress for Barnaby, or a mountain of carrots, or even a simple blanket. It grew a field of impossible, soft, luminous blue flowers, each one glowing gently, providing light for the whole clearing. In the center, a strong, healthy vine grew up, covered in sweet, edible berries the color of sunshine. The seed didn't just grow what they needed, light, food, it grew what they deserved, beauty, peace, and abundance. Peter looked at the glowing clearing. The light wasn't just magical, it was welcoming. He realized that the excitement of risking his life for a stolen carrot was fleeting and selfish. The true thrill, the true rush of life, was facing a great danger and succeeding for the sake of the community. He had tried to steal magic, but in doing so, he had become a hero. And that, Peter decided, was a far more interesting adventure than any amount of forbidden lettuce. "Well, Peter," said Benjamin, looking at the glowing berries, "I suppose a magical berry is superior to a McGregor carrot, after all." Peter pulled down his blue jacket, no longer muddy, and smiled. "It is, Benjamin. And I know precisely how to guard them." He had learned that a great rabbit is measured not by how fast he can run away from trouble, but how cleverly he runs toward solving it. Subscribe the channel to get more stories and like the video. Thank you.